Imagine you've already made the decision. Not the action, the decision. You've already crossed the line in your mind. You've already told yourself it's justified. You've built the entire theory, brick by brick, argument by argument, until it feels like philosophy. And now all that's left is the doing. That's where we find Rodion Raskolnikov, Saint Petersburg, summer of 1865. A city sweating under brutal heat, reeking of poverty and desperation. Narrow alleys, crumbling apartments, the weight of 1,000 crushed dreams pressing down on every street corner. Raskolnikov is 23 years old. He's a former student, brilliant, proud, and completely broke. He owes rent he cannot pay. He's abandoned his university courses. He barely eats. He lives in a tiny garret room, so small it feels like a coffin. 6 paces long, a low ceiling, walls peeling like dead skin. But none of that is what haunts him. What haunts him is the idea. He spent weeks, maybe months, inside his own skull, constructing a theory, a dangerous one. A theory about people, about who deserves to live, about who has the right, not just the power, but the moral right to step over ordinary boundaries. He calls them extraordinary men. Napoleon, Caesar, Alexander the Great. Men who reshaped the world by refusing to obey it. Men who looked at the rules everyone else followed and said, "Those rules are not for me." Raskolnikov believes he might be one of them. And to test the theory, he has chosen a target. Her name is Alyona Ivanovna. She's a pawnbroker. Old, shriveled, cruel by his estimation. She lends money at obscene interest rates to desperate people, extracting every last kopeck from those who can least afford it. In Raskolnikov's mind, she's a parasite, a louse, something the world would not miss, something the world might even thank him for removing. He's already walked to her apartment, just to rehearse. 730 steps from his door to hers. He counted them. He assessed the staircase, the lock, the layout of her rooms. He rang the bell and felt his own heartbeat betray him. That terrified him more than anything. Not guilt, fear of his own weakness. Because the line between thinking about something and actually doing it, that line is everything. Cross it, and you're not going back. Stay on this side, and you're just another man who had a thought. Raskolnikov is about to find out which one he is. But first, a letter arrives, and everything inside him cracks open. The letter is from his mother. He holds it in trembling hands before he even opens it. He kisses the envelope. Something about that gesture, the tenderness of it, tells you everything you need to know about Raskolnikov. Underneath all the cold philosophy, underneath the theory and the pride, there is a boy who loves his mother. He tears it open. She writes about his sister, Dunya, and what she writes destroys him. Dunya had been working as a governess for a wealthy man named Svidrigailov, a powerful man, a dangerous man who, it turns out, had developed an obsession with her and had not kept it respectable. He made advances, inappropriate, persistent. When his wife discovered this, she didn't blame her husband. She blamed Dunya. She spread rumors across the entire region. Her name blackened, her reputation dragged through the mud. Then his wife discovered the truth. Svidrigailov had manufactured the entire scandal himself. She went on a public campaign to restore Dunya's honor. But here's the part that breaks Raskolnikov. Dunya has agreed to marry a man named Luzhin. Luzhin is a lawyer, older, respectable on the surface. He presents himself as her savior, a man willing to marry a woman whose reputation had been compromised. But Raskolnikov can read between every line. Luzhin wants a wife who will be grateful, permanently, endlessly, suffocatingly grateful. He wants power over her, not love. His mother writes as if this is wonderful news. Our dear Dunya has secured her future. Raskolnikov reads those words and feels something collapse inside him. His sister selling herself for the family's survival, for his survival, so that he might finish his education, so that he might have a future. She is sacrificing herself so that he can become the extraordinary man he dreams of being. And he cannot bear it. He throws himself down on his narrow sofa and stares at the cracked ceiling. This is the moment everything converges. If Luzhin can sell his decency for social advantage, if society accepts this transaction without flinching, then what exactly are the rules that govern moral behavior? Who made them? Who benefits from them? The pawnhopeler, Luzhin, men who exploit the weak without consequence, hiding their cruelty behind legal contracts and polite smiles. And yet Raskolnikov, a young man with an idea, would be called a murderer. The contradiction is eating him alive. He goes outside. The summer heat is suffocating. He wanders the streets, half delirious, barely eating, barely sleeping. His mind is a furnace. He passes a tavern and hears drunken voices. He goes in. He meets a man named Marmeladov. And now, just when you thought you understood this story, everything gets more complicated.
Marmeladov is drunk. He has the look of a man who has been drunk for some time and is no longer surprised by his own state. A former civil servant, his uniform is dirty, his face is red and bloated, but his eyes have a strange, terrible brightness. He starts talking to Raskolnikov, and the story he tells is one of the most heartbreaking things in the entire novel. He has a daughter named Sonya. His first wife died. He remarried a proud, educated woman named Katerina Ivanovna, who had fallen into poverty. She brought 3 young children from her first marriage. Marmeladov brought nothing but a drinking problem and an inability to keep a job. So Sonya, his daughter from the first marriage, had to do what no father should ever allow. She became a prostitute. She carries a yellow certificate, the document that marks what she is in the eyes of society. She lives in a room rented from strangers. She does what she does so that her family, her stepmother, her half-siblings can eat. And Marmeladov takes her money for drink. He knows exactly what he is. He doesn't try to excuse it. He sits there and catalogues his own depravity with a kind of horrible precision, as if confession itself is a form of atonement, even when nothing changes. Do you understand, sir, what it means when there is nowhere left to go? He says to Raskolnikov. Raskolnikov says nothing, but the words land in him like a stone in still water. Because Marmeladov is not describing a simple addiction. He is describing a man at the absolute bottom of what a human being can be, and who somehow still yearns, still feels, still suffers. A ruined man, a man society has finished with, a man whose daughter sells herself, and whose wife coughs blood from tuberculosis, and whose children go to bed hungry. Raskolnikov walks him home. He sees the apartment, he sees the misery, the crammed space, the sick woman coughing, the children huddled together, and in the corner, Sonya's room, separated by a thin curtain. He leaves a few coins on the windowsill and slips out. Why? He doesn't even fully understand why. He has almost nothing himself. He's calculating whether he can commit murder. But he leaves coins for this family, because something in him, something beneath the theory, is still human. But the theory is growing louder. The pawnbroker, Elena Ivanovna, will receive a visit from a young student with an axe, and that visit is now very close. The night before, Raskolnikov heard something in a tavern. Two men, a student and an officer, talking about the same pawnbroker. The student says if she were killed, her money could help dozens of people, a net benefit, a moral calculation. He says it casually, as a thought experiment. Raskolnikov freezes. Somebody else had the idea. The idea isn't madness. The idea is logic. He goes home. He doesn't sleep.
The next day, he receives a letter, a pledge to return to the pawnbroker. He has a watch, a trinket. He will use it as an excuse to visit her apartment and confirm the details he needs. His hands are steady. His mind is made up. Or so he tells himself. He goes, he assesses, he watches how she moves. He sees her sister, Lizaveta, a simple, gentle creature, completely different from the sharp-eyed old woman. Lizaveta is like a child in a woman's body, docile, harmless. He leaves. The plan is crystallizing. And then fate, or coincidence, or the cruel machinery of the universe delivers him the final piece. He overhears a conversation. Lizaveta will be out the following evening. The old woman will be alone. He takes this as a sign. That evening, he goes to sleep with everything decided. He dreams, a terrible dream. He is a boy again, in the countryside with his father. They come upon a crowd of drunk peasants torturing a horse, beating it. The horse is trying to rise and cannot. Men laugh and pour on blow after blow. A little boy, him, young Raskolnikov, weeps. He runs to the horse and throws his arms around its bloody head and kisses it. He wakes up in a cold sweat. Can I really do it? He asks himself. And then, in the next breath, the theory reasserts itself, the philosophy, the calculation. He gets up. He hides the axe under his coat. He fashions a fake pledge from a piece of wood. He walks the 730 steps. He rings the bell. The door opens. What happens next is one of the most brutal, psychologically overwhelming scenes in all of Russian literature. It takes only minutes. The old woman turns her back. Raskolnikov raises the axe. He strikes. Once. Twice. She falls. And then the door opens behind him. Lizaveta. She walks in. She sees everything. Her face, her simple, gentle face, registers something that isn't even horror yet. It is pure, uncomprehending shock. He cannot leave a witness. He strikes again. And then there is silence. Two women are dead, and Raskolnikov stands in the middle of it, axe in hand, body shaking, and realizes with terrible dawning clarity that nothing about this moment matches the theory. Nothing. He is not Napoleon. That is the first thing he understands. Not in those words, not yet, but in the body, in the hands that won't stop trembling, in the blood on his boot that he keeps staring at, in the way the silence of the apartment feels like it's closing in on him from every direction. He moves. He has to move. He finds the keys in the old woman's pocket. He goes to the chest in the back room. He takes what he can. A purse, some jewelry, a few trinkets. He doesn't even count how much. He barely looks. He hears footsteps on the stairs. He stops breathing. The footsteps stop. Then a knock at the door. Then voices. He presses himself against the wall. His heart is so loud he's convinced they can hear it. The men on the other side of the door discuss the fact that no one answers. They leave to get the porter. Raskolnikov somehow, impossibly, makes it back to his garret. He hides the items. He falls onto his sofa. Then the fever begins.
He doesn't know how many days pass. Time becomes liquid. He drifts in and out of consciousness. His friend Razumihin, warm, loyal, slightly ridiculous Razumihin, appears at some point and tries to help. The doctor comes. Raskolnikov is raving, delirious. He says things. He almost confesses several times. But not quite. Razumihin pieces together what he can. He buys Raskolnikov new clothes. He sits with him through the illness. He does all of this out of friendship, without being asked, without expecting anything in return. Razumihin is, in many ways, everything Raskolnikov wishes he could be. When Raskolnikov finally wakes, really wakes, he hears something. The police want to speak with him. His heart stops. But when he gets to the office, it is only about the rent, a routine complaint from his landlord. He's about to leave when someone mentions the murder. The old pawnbroker, the sister, and Raskolnikov, right there in the police station, surrounded by officers, nearly collapses. He's caught in time by a nearby chair. The detective who notices this is named Porfiry Petrovich. And Porfiry is the most dangerous man in the entire story.
Porfiry Petrovich does not look dangerous. That's the first thing you need to understand about him. He is round-faced, cheerful. He makes little jokes and laughs at his observations. He offers tea. He seems to ramble. He seems distracted. He seems like someone you could easily outsmart. He's none of those things. He is a brilliant detective, and more than that, a brilliant psychologist. He understands the architecture of guilt. He knows that a guilty man will expose himself, given enough pressure applied in the right places. And he has already begun to form an idea about Raskolnikov. Just an idea, not a certainty. A nagging, buzzing, persistent idea. Before Porfiry becomes central, though, there is someone else, someone from the past who has now arrived in Petersburg. Svidrigailov. Remember him? A man who harassed Dunya while she worked in his house. His wife is now dead, under circumstances that are at least suspicious, and he has come to Petersburg with money, a lot of it. He seeks out Raskolnikov. Why? Because he heard about Dunya through letters his late wife read aloud, and because he's still obsessed with Dunya. But Svidrigailov is complicated in a way that makes you uncomfortable. He's depraved, and yet he does things that seem almost decent. He gives money to Sonya for the Marmeladov children. He's strangely honest about his own darkness. He doesn't pretend to be good. He looks at Raskolnikov and seems to see something in him that others don't. And Raskolnikov is terrified of him, not because Svidrigailov threatens him directly, but because Svidrigailov seems to know, or suspect, or sense. Meanwhile, Dunya and Raskolnikov's mother have arrived in Petersburg. The reunion that should be warm is excruciating. Raskolnikov cannot let them close. The secret is a wall of glass between him and everyone he loves. He can see them, they can see him, but touch is impossible. He tells Dunya he will not allow the marriage delusion. He's blunt, almost cruel about it. His mother is horrified. Dunya is hurt. But she is also the most perceptive person in his life. She watches him with eyes that understand more than they say. Razumihin, meanwhile, has fallen immediately and completely in love with Dunya, in a way that would be comic if everything weren't so heavy. He follows her like a great, devoted dog. He talks too much. He says embarrassing things. He means every one of them. It's one of the few genuinely tender threads in this dark tapestry. But Raskolnikov cannot rest inside it, because Porfiry is waiting. And the first meeting, the real conversation between them, is about to begin.
Raskolnikov has written an article months ago, before all of this, back when the theory was just a theory. He published it in a small journal, a philosophical argument about crime, history, and the nature of extraordinary men. He argued in academic language that certain people in history had the right to transgress ordinary moral laws if doing so served a greater purpose. He used the word right carefully, technically. He was not calling for murder. He was making a philosophical point. He thought no one had read it. Porfiry has read it. Their first conversation takes place at Porfiry's apartment, with Razumihин present. It begins as a debate about the article. Porfiry is fascinated. He prods, he questions, he pretends to misunderstand. And Raskolnikov, proud, brilliant, arrogant Raskolnikov, cannot help but defend his argument. He explains the theory, out loud, to the investigator. The words hang in the air like smoke. Porfiry smiles. So tell me, when a man believes himself to be one of the extraordinary ones, how does he know? How does he test the hypothesis? The question is a trap, but it's also a real question. Raskolnikov knows it. He answers carefully. He watches Porfiry's face. Porfiry watches his. Nothing is said directly. Everything is understood. After they leave, Raskolnikov is shaking with adrenaline. He tells himself he held up. He tells himself Porfiry has nothing, no evidence, no witnesses. A false confession has already been made by a troubled young man named Nikolai, a painter who worked in the building and who, out of some strange religious guilt, has declared himself the murderer. Raskolnikov should be safe. He is not safe. Because the real danger is not being arrested. The real danger is what is happening inside him. The theory, the one that was supposed to liberate him, to prove he was extraordinary, is rotting. Every day it holds less water. He cannot sleep. He cannot eat. He drifts through his apartment and through the streets like a ghost. He goes to Sonya. It is one of the strangest choices he makes, and it will define everything.
Why does he go to Sonya? He asks himself this. He does not have a clean answer. Maybe because she is the only person in his world who has genuinely done something terrible and somehow survived it. Survived it and remained herself, remained human. Sonya Marmeladova, 19 years old, pale and thin and quiet. She lives in a rented room, large, oddly shaped, overlooking a courtyard, a room that feels both exposed and interior, like a secret told in a loud voice. When Raskolnikov arrives, he is strange, intense, probing. She is nervous of him, but she doesn't ask him to leave. He asks her about God, about whether she believes. She does, absolutely, without reservation, without sophistication. Her faith is not intellectual, it is bone deep. It is what has kept her alive. He asks her to read from the Bible. She reads the story of Lazarus, the man who was dead and was raised. Her voice is barely above a whisper, but in that small room, the words are enormous. Lazarus, come forth. Raskolnikov listens. Something in him is moved in a way he cannot categorize or dismiss, but he cannot surrender it yet. He tells her there is a man he knows who has done something terrible, something that cannot be undone. He asks her, what should such a man do? She doesn't hesitate. He should go and confess. He almost smiles. Then he doesn't. He tells her he will come back. He promises he will tell her who it is. She already suspects. She is not stupid. She is just patient.
Meanwhile, his sister Dunya has broken the engagement with Lushin, exactly as Raskolnikov demanded. There was a terrible scene. Lushin tried to frame Dunya by planting a stolen note in her pocket and accusing her of theft in front of Raskolnikov's mother. Everyone saw through it. He left, humiliated. Good riddance. But this is a small victory against a much larger darkness. Raskolnikov goes back to Porfiry, and this meeting is different. This time, Porfiry drops the pleasantries. He speaks quietly, directly, with something that sounds almost like kindness. He tells Raskolnikov he knows, not legally, not with evidence he could present in court, but he knows psychologically. He has worked it all out. He tells Raskolnikov, confess. Not as a threat, as advice. The suffering will be half as heavy if you go yourself, Porfiry says. Then he leaves, just like that. No arrest, no accusation, just pressure, silence, and the knowledge that someone who understands him is watching. Raskolnikov goes home and sits in the dark for a long time.
This is where the mask begins to crack, not in front of anyone, not dramatically, quietly, in the small hours of mornings when sleep won't come, in the way he looks at his own hands, in the way that he cannot be in a room with the people who love him without feeling like an imposter. His mother and sister are still in Petersburg. He loves them, he is certain of that. But every moment with them is a performance. He is acting the role of a son, a brother. Behind the performance is the secret, and the secret is growing heavier every day. He visits Sonya again. She gives him a cross, her own, the one she has worn for years, and asks him to wear it. He takes it. He doesn't put it on immediately, but he takes it. He tells her soon. She nods. She will wait. There is something between them that neither of them has a word for yet. It is not romance in any conventional sense. It is something older. Two people who have each crossed into a darkness that most people only read about. She crossed it out of sacrifice. He crossed it out of philosophy. And now they are on the same side of the line. The city, meanwhile, continues its brutal march. Marmeladov, the drunk man Raskolnikov met in the tavern, has been run over by a horse carriage in the street. Raskolnikov happens to be nearby. He goes to him. He helps him carry home. He gives money for a doctor, money for the funeral. He is there when Marmeladov dies. He sees Katerina Ivanovna, his wife, already sick with tuberculosis, receive the news. He sees Sonya rushing in from wherever she had been, in the yellow dress that marks her profession, desperate and terrified. She falls to her knees beside her dying stepfather. Raskolnikov watches. He sees the suffering. He does not philosophize it. He just sees it. And something else happens during this scene. A young woman named Polenka, one of the stepchildren, grabs Raskolnikov's hand and says, "Will you be our friend?" He holds the child's hand and cannot speak. Who is this man, really? Is he the cold philosopher who calculated a murder as a thought experiment? Or is he the person who has now given away money he couldn't afford, who sits with dying strangers, who cannot look at a child without feeling everything? The answer is both, and the war between them is about to reach its crisis. The city is boiling now. Not literally, though the Petersburg summer is relentless, but emotionally, narratively. Everything is converging. Every character, every secret, every hidden thread is pulling toward the center. Svidrigailov is watching. He is still in the city. He seems to appear in places he shouldn't be able to reach. He was present, it turns out, in the room next door when Raskolnikov confessed to Sonya. He heard everything through the thin wall. He knows. Now he holds that knowledge like a card in his hand. And he doesn't play it. Not yet. Why not? What does he want? He wants Dunya. He sends her a letter. He says he has information about her brother that concerns her. He asks for a private meeting. She goes. Against everyone's advice, against all common sense, she goes. Because she loves her brother. And Svidrigailov has leverage. And she's not a coward. What happens in that meeting is one of the most unsettling scenes in the novel. Svidrigailov tells her the truth, that Raskolnikov is the murderer. He shows it is not a lie. He gives her the reality of it. She's devastated. Then he makes his offer. Help me, reach you, be mine, and your brother will be protected. She pulls out a revolver. She shoots him. The bullet grazes his temple. She shoots again. It misfires. He's very close to her now. He looks at her face, at her horror and her courage, and then he lets her go. Just like that. He says, "You are free. Go." It is one of the most confounding moments in the book. Is it mercy? Love? A final gesture of something he once might have been? Nobody knows. Svidrigailov doesn't explain. Dunya leaves. She never sees him again. Because that night, Svidrigailov gives away his money, large sums, to Sonya, to Katerina Ivanovna's children, arranging for their futures, to a young woman he had wronged years ago. He settles his debts with the living. Then he finds a cold gray dawn by a river, and he shoots himself. His last words are to the watchman who asks where he's going. He says, "To America," and then he's gone.
Svidrigailov's death lands like a stone. Raskolnikov hears of it the next day. He is quiet afterward. Something in him shifts, not clearly, not completely, but something moves. He goes to see his mother. He is strange and distant with her, as he always is now, but something in his visit has the quality of farewell. She doesn't know that. She talks happily, a little desperately, about the future, about when things will be better. He listens. He kisses her, holds her, longer than usual. Then he goes to Dunya. He tells her he knows she knows. He can see it on her face. He tells her he is going to confess. She grabs his hand. She does not try to stop him. She loves him too much to stop him. "Go, brother," she says. He goes out. He stops at a crossroads. There is a crowd of people moving around him. The noise of the city, the heat, the dust, the smell of the markets. He kneels down, right there in the middle of the square, in front of everyone. He bows his head to the earth. He kisses the ground. People laugh at him. A drunk calls out something. A boy shouts. They think he's mad or religious or both. He gets up. He goes to the police station. He begins to tell them what he did. Then he hears something. Svidrigailov is dead. The words reach him in the waiting room, murmured among officers. And for a moment, the courage wavers. He goes back outside. He almost doesn't do it. Then he sees Sonya. She is standing across the street. She has followed him. She is watching him with absolute, steady eyes. Her face is pale. She does not wave. She does not call out. She is simply there. He goes back inside. He finishes the confession.
The confession changes everything, and yet it changes nothing immediately. The trial does not happen right away.
There are investigations, statements, procedures. Raskolnikov is not immediately imprisoned. He has time to exist in a strange, suspended state, guilty, confessed, waiting. He is hollow now. The confession should have brought relief. That's what he'd expected, some kind of release. The pressure building since that summer evening should dissipate now that the words have been spoken. But it hasn't. He feels almost nothing, a strange, empty calm, like a room after a storm, debris everywhere, no more wind. Porfiry visits him one last time. The investigator comes alone, quietly, without official purpose. He sits down. He says things that are almost kind. He tells Raskolnikov that he has always seen in him a man capable of becoming something. He tells him that the suffering in Siberia, and he is clear Siberia will be the sentence, is not the end. Life is still ahead of you, Porfiry says. Don't lose it. It's the strangest interaction, the hunter visiting the prey to offer comfort. Raskolnikov's mother does not know. Dunya and Razumihin have carefully kept the truth from her. She's fragile. She's deteriorating. She has constructed her own version of events. Rodya has gone away for some important reason. He will be back. He will be great. She holds on to that story. It's the only mercy available. Meanwhile, Razumihin and Dunya grow closer. In another novel, in another life, this would be the happy subplot. Here, it carries a weight of tenderness and sorrow. They are building something together in the shadow of something devastating. And Sonya makes her preparations. She has been selling her few possessions. She's been preparing for the journey because she promised Raskolnikov he would follow him to Siberia, and she's not the kind of person who makes promises she doesn't keep. She has no legal ties to him, no official claim. She just goes. She goes because of what she believes about human souls, that they can change, that they can be redeemed. She goes the way she does everything else, quietly, without drama, because she has decided. The trial is held. Raskolnikov admits everything. He does not ask for sympathy. He does not perform remorse. When asked why he committed the murder, he says it bluntly. Poverty, desperation, a calculation that turned out to be wrong. The court is almost disappointed. They want psychological complexity. He refuses to give it to them. He confesses, and he is judged, and he is sentenced. 8 years, penal labor, Siberia. He boards the transport to the east. Sonya follows on the next carriage.
Siberia. The word alone carries weight in the Russian imagination. Endless, cold, the edge of the world, where the empire wanted people to forget. But this is not a story about forgetting. Raskolnikov arrives at the prison camp and immediately makes himself unlikable. This is important to understand. He is not reformed. He is not broken. He is not suddenly humble. He still believes somewhere beneath everything that the theory was right, that his only error was practical. He miscalculated his own nature. He was not Napoleon. He was not extraordinary. He was ordinary. And that failure is what he cannot forgive himself for. Not the murder, but the revelation of his own ordinariness. The other prisoners sense this. They dislike him. They call him a gentleman. They say his crime was not the right kind. An axe murder was too personal, too up close for someone who considered himself above common criminals. There's something almost comical about their contempt, something almost fair. He is isolated in a crowd. He does his work. He doesn't complain. He doesn't scheme. He is simply there, present and absent at the same time. And Sonya, she visits him at the prison gates on holidays. She visits him at the workshops when she can. She writes letters for the other prisoners. She does small kindnesses for men who have no one. She gives and gives and gives, and somehow she does not run dry.
The prisoners adore her. They call her Little Mother. These rough, branded men, they take off their hats when she passes. They ask after her health. They send greetings through Raskolnikov. Raskolnikov watches this and does not understand it. Why do they love her? He has read philosophy. He has constructed arguments about the nature of extraordinary men. And he cannot see what these illiterate convicts see immediately. That Sonya is extraordinary in a way that requires no theory, no justification, no test. She simply is. He is ill that first winter, feverish, delirious for weeks. He has a dream during the fever, a terrifying dream about a plague of ideas, a disease that infects the mind rather than the body, a disease that makes every infected person believe completely, absolutely, infallibly in the truth of their own thoughts. He recognizes the disease. He has had it. He recovers from the fever, and something in him is very slightly, almost imperceptibly, different.
Spring reaches Siberia. You need to understand that spring in Siberia means something. After the cold that presses down like stone, after the gray and the mud and the dead stillness, the first green things appear with a sharpness that feels almost violent, life insisting on itself. The prisoners are led outside. The river has thawed. The banks are muddy. There is birdsong. Raskolnikov is sitting alone by the river when Sonya appears. She's been ill recently. He was afraid for her. More afraid, he realizes that he expected to be. She sits beside him. And something happens. He reaches for her hand. She takes his. No philosophy. No argument about whether love is a useful concept or an illusion built by social conditioning. He takes her hand, and she takes his, and he weeps. He doesn't know how long he weeps. He has not wept since childhood. He cannot explain it. He cannot categorize it. But this is the moment Dostoevsky has been building toward through every prison scene, every feverish night, every grinding hour of labor and isolation. This is not redemption in the Hollywood sense, not a clean transformation, a sudden flood of light. This is something slower and more honest, the beginning of the possibility of redemption, the first real crack in the wall. Raskolnikov begins to read the Bible, the same Bible Sonya gave him at the start, the one that was near the body of Lizaveta, Ilyona Ivanovna's gentle, harmless sister, when she died. He could not read it before. He could not open it. Now he opens it. He still has 7 years to serve. 7 years of labor and cold and the company of men who don't trust him. But there is someone on the other side of the prison gate who waits for him. Someone who chose this. And for the first time in the entire novel, Raskolnikov thinks about the future without contempt. Let's talk about the theory. Because we have spent 14 parts moving through the action, and we haven't paused long enough to sit inside the question that Dostoevsky is really asking. What does Raskolnikov actually believe? He believes, or believed, that human beings can be divided into 2 categories. The ordinary ones follow rules, live obediently, make up the material of history without shaping it. The extraordinary ones, the Napoleons, the Caesars, the lawgivers, have the right to step over ordinary moral constraints when their vision demands it. The key word is right. Not just ability, not just power, right. Raskolnikov's moral logic. If the death of one worthless person could release 100 people from poverty, from suffering, from debt, then the person who commits that act is not a criminal. They are an agent of a greater good. The individual murder is irrelevant against the collective benefit. It sounds like a thought experiment, the trolley problem in a Russian garret. But Dostoevsky is doing something more complicated. He is showing what happens when that theory meets reality, when the man who built the theory has to be actually there, in the room, with the body. The theory collapses, not because it was disproven by an argument, but because it was disproven by blood, by a face, by the completely unforeseeable presence of Lizaveta, who was kind and harmless and had nothing to do with any calculation. The extraordinary man theory requires the victim to be an abstraction, a symbol, a louse, in Raskolnikov's word. And people are not abstractions. That is the entirety of the lesson. Dostoevsky was writing against a specific intellectual current of his time, the utilitarian calculus of certain radical thinkers who believed that moral behavior was simply a matter of maximizing outcomes, who believed that the individual consciousness was less important than the collective result. Raskolnikov is Dostoevsky's test case. He takes the idea seriously, follows it all the way to the conclusion, and shows what it costs. Not just in suffering, in humanity. Because Raskolnikov is cut off from everything. Not by the law, not by society, by the secret. The secret removes him from his mother, his sister, his friend. It makes every relationship a performance. It isolates him completely, which is the exact opposite of the transcendence he imagined. The extraordinary man, in the end, is the loneliest man in the room.
But there is another side to this. Dostoevsky does not let Raskolnikov simply be wrong and then reformed. That would be too simple, too clean, too dishonest. Because the questions Raskolnikov asks are not stupid questions. Why does society tolerate legal exploitation but criminalize direct action? Why is a man who destroys thousands of lives through financial manipulation respectable, while a desperate student is a monster? These are real questions. They don't disappear because the man asking them also committed murder, and Dostoevsky does not pretend they do. What he argues, not explicitly, but through the shape of the novel, is that the error is not in asking the questions. The error is in believing that an individual can appoint himself judge, executioner, and savior simultaneously. That one mind, however brilliant, can see clearly enough to make that kind of decision about another person's life. The arrogance of certainty. That is the real crime, not the poverty, not the theory, but the absolute conviction that he had it right. And look at the characters placed against him to illuminate this by contrast. Sonya. She does not choose her situation. She is crushed into it by poverty and a father who cannot stop drinking. She suffers. She does not philosophize the suffering. She endures it. She keeps the children alive. She reads the Bible. And she believes in something larger than herself. And she gives away everything she has. Razumihin, equally poor, equally educated, equally capable of constructing philosophical frameworks. He works. He makes terrible jokes. He falls in love with Dunya immediately and without dignity. He is alive in every moment. Porfiry. He has seen everything. He has investigated murders for years. He is worldly and clever and psychologically acute, and he does not despair. He does not hate. He is curious about human beings with something that looks almost like love. These three characters are Dostoevsky's answer to the theory. Not arguments, people. The suffering and the ordinary and the professional, each offering a different model for how to be a human being in a world that is genuinely hard and unfair. None of them have an easy answer, but none of them have murder as their answer either.
Let's go back to Sonya for a moment, because she is underestimated by Raskolnikov, by critics, sometimes by readers. She is not simply the redemptive woman. She is not a symbol of purity or a prop for Raskolnikov's transformation. She is a specific person with specific choices. She chose to tell Raskolnikov to confess immediately. She did not hesitate. She did not say, "Wait, let me think about whether this is practical." She said, "Go, confess. It's the only way." She chose to follow him to Siberia with no legal reason to go, no official connection, no certainty he would ever receive her or be grateful.
She chose every day to be kind to people who could offer her nothing. And here is something remarkable about Dostoevsky's portrait of her. She never tries to change Raskolnikov. She never argues him into belief. She never gives speeches about God or redemption. She just loves him consistently, without conditions, without drama. And that consistency, that quietly devastating constancy, is what finally reaches him. He has been surrounded by people who want things from him. His theory wants him to prove it. Porfiry wants him to confess for procedural reasons. Even his mother's love has the quality of a dream she needs him to fulfill. Sonya wants nothing from him. She is just there. And in a life where everything has become a transaction or a performance, that presence, that pure, unexplaining presence, is what breaks him open. This is Dostoevsky's theological argument made flesh. Not faith as doctrine, faith as a way of being to another person without conditions. Raskolnikov in Siberia begins to wake up. Not dramatically, slowly. The way a limb wakes when the blood returns, with pain and then feeling and then something that might eventually be called wholeness. He still has years to serve, but he has begun to live in them rather than waiting for them to end.
What happens to everyone else? This is the question the epilogue answers, and it's worth sitting with. Dunya marries Razumikhin 2 months after Raskolnikov's sentencing, quietly and without celebration. Porfiry comes. Zosimov, the doctor, comes. They are a small gathering of people who all know the shape of the tragedy they have lived through. Razumikhin begins saving money. He talks about going to Siberia himself, not just to be near Raskolnikov, but to build something there. He talks about working, saving, starting a new life in the East. He means it. He always means what he says. Dunya has her brother's intelligence and none of his paralysis. She's decided what she will do, and she does it. She's the most practical person in the room, always, and the most loving. And these qualities in her do not contradict each other. Pulcheria Alexandrovna, Raskolnikov's mother, doesn't survive. She doesn't know exactly what happened to her son. Dunya and Razumikhin protect her from the full truth, but she senses something. In her good moments, she talks about Rodya's future, his greatness, how he will return. In her difficult moments, she's feverish, distant, lost. She dies within a year of the sentencing. The narration handles this with tremendous gentleness. She knew more than she let on. She had heard her daughter speaking in her sleep. She understood, somewhere underneath her hope, what the truth was. But she chose the hope. And maybe that's its own kind of courage. Porfiry Petrovich disappears from the story after the confession. He was true to his word. He gave Raskolnikov the chance to confess himself, and Raskolnikov did, and Porfiry protected his ability to do so. He's one of those supporting characters who is more complete than most protagonists in other novels. A detective who was also a philosopher, who was also, in some way, a father figure who would not let the young man destroy himself entirely. And Svidrigaïlov's money, the money he gave to Sonya before he killed himself, becomes the instrument of the children's futures. Katerina Ivanovna's 3 children are placed in good institutions, given a chance. It is perhaps the only truly useful thing Svidrigaïlov ever does in his life, and he does it on the way out. 9 months into his sentence, Raskolnikov is at the workshop. He is working. The sun is out, a rare, bright Siberian sun. The river is running. He is not thinking about the theory, or the murder, or the philosophical arguments. He is thinking about Sonya. She has been ill for a few days and could not visit. He has been more agitated than he expected, more anxious than the situation seemed to warrant.
He realizes, with the kind of clarity that comes only after long involuntary patience, that she has become the center of his life. Not because she is a symbol, not because she represents something, because she is Sonya, specific and irreducible. She appears at the gate. He goes to her. And this time it's different from all the previous visits. Something in him doesn't hold back. He sees her, and he doesn't perform indifference. He just is there, fully there. She takes his hands. He holds hers. How did this happen? He thinks, not as a complaint, as a genuine question. Love, the oldest mystery, the thing that doesn't care about your theory. He looks at her face, worn, pale, patient, and he understands something he couldn't have understood at the beginning, that the life she has lived has not diminished her, that everything she has carried has not destroyed her. She is still there, intact, something essential and unbroken, and he wants to be. He looks ahead, 7 more years, and for the first time, he sees those years as something to move through rather than something to endure. They are not punishment. They are time, time in which something might grow. He thinks of his mother. He receives the news of her death in this period and is quiet with the grief of it. He could not protect her. He could not even be honest with her. That is a wound that will not fully heal. But Sonya is alive, and he is alive, and the birch trees on the far bank of the river are green again. Dostoevsky writes near the very end, he did not know that the new life would not be given to him for nothing, that he would have to pay dearly for it, that it would cost him great striving, great suffering. He does not know, but he is ready to begin.
So, what does this story actually mean? 737 steps from his door to the pawnbroker's apartment. That's how far Raskolnikov had to walk to destroy his own life. And yet, the novel is not really about the murder. The murder is the inciting event. The real story is about what happens after, about what it costs a person to live inside a secret, about what the mind does when it is cut off from love by its own actions, about whether a human being can, after the worst thing, find their way back to something worth living for. Dostoevsky wrote this novel in enormous debt, under deadline pressure, dictating sections to a stenographer he later married. He wrote it out of his own experience. He had been sentenced to death in his 20s, commuted to Siberian imprisonment, experienced conversion of his own. He knew what Siberia felt like. He knew what it felt like to be a young man full of theory and ambition, and to have that ambition crushed, and to have to reconstruct a self from the rubble. Crime and punishment endures because it doesn't make the answers easy. It doesn't say, believe in God and everything will be fine. It doesn't say, love conquers all. It doesn't say, systems are corrupt, so individual action is justified. It says, you are not separate from other people. Your suffering is real, and so is theirs. Your brilliance does not exempt you from their humanity. The weight of a life, any life, is more than a philosophy can hold. And it is possible to come back, slowly, at great cost, without guarantees. The final image of the novel is Raskolnikov in the prison camp at the beginning of that return. Not the return itself, just the beginning. Dostoevsky understood that redemption is not a moment, it is a direction. 7 more years ahead of him. Sonya waiting outside the gate, a cross around his neck that was given in love. He does not know what comes next. He is not supposed to know. He is supposed to begin. And so, he does. If this story reached something in you, if you found yourself thinking about Raskolnikov days after watching, turning over his theory in your mind, wondering what you would have done, and you understand why this book has lasted over 150 years,
Dostoevsky was not writing a crime thriller. He was asking a question about what it means to be human in a world where suffering is real, where systems are unjust, where good people are crushed and bad ones prosper. The question is still open. The question will always be open. That's why we keep reading. If you want to go deeper, there are more stories like this one waiting for you here. Subscribe and stay close. We are just getting started.